So last time we saw each other was in January 23, right? It's like 2 years ago and changed. I was at your house in Phoenix. I was in between two events in Vegas, and you couldn't travel at the time because of
Yeah, I pulled
the
the plug entirely, which didn't help at all, by the way. That was a waste. The time it was worth trying. So that's what I
yeah,
did.
yeah. I zipped over from Vegas to Scottsdale to hang with you for the weekend, stayed at your house.
Yep.
At that time, I was thinking about taking on some cash from Founder Path to
Mm.
grow the business. And so like they do these loans based on your MRR. And so at that point, I think they were willing to lend me about $2 million dollars at interest, but no equity. And now they would actually go up to $8 million dollars if I wanted it. But
Huh.
the interest is steep. It's like credit card level interest. So
29%.
23-ish. Yeah.
Yeah, that's nuts, dude. You just, yeah,
Yeah. So it's a lot. It's a lot. The
yeah,
interest is a lot. But I was like, so my thinking was like, so yeah, what was funny was like at that event, it was founders board first and then you for the weekend and then driven in the
yeah.
week after. So right before then, I had gotten this, I'd invested in something like basically my coach at the time, my mentor at the time, Dan Martell, he had this new book out and he has buy a truck ton of my books as a way to support. And then you get to be part of some mastermind in my house kind of thing. I was like, I think that could be a cool investment. So I bought $20,000 worth of his books or something like that, like to
Wow.
support his book launch. And I was like, that's going to come back at some point. Like, it's a support him. That's cool. So I did that. And then, and it was like a little tight on the cash flow, but I was like, all right, it'll work out. Fucking do it. And then I got a text from or an email from my CPA saying, hey, we got to run $100,000 payroll for you before the end of the year for tax purposes. And I'm like, okay, that would have been like, this is like between Christmas and New Year. That would have been good to know, say a month ago, 2 months ago, 3 months ago, whatever.
Yeah, no shit.
Um, which is something that we've cleaned up since. But I was like, okay, run it. And then all the team was gone. So I got back to business January, beginning of January, and then I had my finance team. I have a team in the Philippines that does all the accounting and all those things. I had them do an extended cash flow forecast, and they were like, "Great, you're going to be negative $125,000 by April or by March." And I was like, "What do we do?" And then I think it was like 2, 3 days later, they're like, yeah, okay, so we run the numbers again, and it looks like it's 125,000, it's $145,000 negatives. I'm like, this is moving the wrong direction real fast. So I was like panicking. I've never had something like that happen before. It was like, shit, what the fuck do I do? Sleepless nights. And that's when I went to the founders board meeting and they had this like round table challenge, bring your biggest challenge. And I was like this close to just chickening it out and just being like, blah, 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 marketing strategy, whatever. I was like, okay, just this is so embarrassing. It was like, I was like, ugh, I'm the worst entrepreneur in the world. Can't manage cash flow. Like I'm just a shithead. Like I'm a worthless piece of all that stuff was going on inside my head. I was so embarrassed. I was like, this is my situation. And then the other guys were just the night they were just like, oh my God, this has happened to me so many times and
Yeah.
you're not alone. This is normal. I was like, whoa, shit, like cool. That was such a blessing. And then they had all these different ideas and strategies for like how like different sales. Could we like do a discount on annual? Could we do this campaign, that campaign to bring in some cash? There's like this company and that company and the other thing that will do different factoring loans or whatever, Stripe Capital, et cetera, et cetera. And I started looking into that. And what I realized as I dug into the feeling side of it, what I realized right before that morning was that underneath it all was a feeling of being a victim in life of this like marketing customer acquisition is something that I don't have control over because it's other people. And as
Mm.
a kid, I got good at computers because I couldn't figure out other people. And so like that victim mindset was running things. And then underneath that was like this feeling that I don't matter. Like I don't matter. I
Wow.
have no value. And I was like, I don't know if you've had those experiences where you just get in touch with some deeper layer, some deeper voice inside that's like sitting there kind of feeling like I don't matter. Another one that happened just a month ago was I'm a worthless piece of shit. Just connecting all of a sudden, it was just like, for me, it's a feeling of like I feel like I hit a nerve of something. It's, oh. And it's like I talk about mind bugs because it's like if there is a part of you inside there, like an energy that's trapped that says, I don't matter, or I'm not important, or I'm a worthless piece of shit, that piece lives in there. And the moment we touch it and we see it and we can be with it and just, oh, that's in there, it starts to melt. But as long as it's what happens is that we like that message might have been lodged in there at some point, right? Your dad did something, your mother did something, a teacher, or whatever, and like the message was, I'm a worthless piece of shit. And then we're like, fuck, no, I don't want to be that. And so we pack it, right? We bury it, we stack on top of it, and we're like, no, I'm not worthless. I'm amazing. And then we start to overachieve. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs like us we have this like bug somewhere in that inside that we're not enough. We're not good enough. There's something wrong with us in some way. We need to, and that's why we get good at achieving to overcome that. Or we need to prove something or something. So it becomes driven by this need to compensate for that feeling of inadequacy, of not being good enough, or insecurity, not being safe.
Yeah, the not being safe thing, dude, for
Yeah.
sure.
Or scarcity, like there's not enough. So I got to amass a whole bunch so I can feel like there's enough. So these are the patterns that I think drive all of us. And that one of the ones I mentioned when we spoke was this feeling that there's somewhere to get to. And I know you said you resonated with that, like that, like and you've been through this journey, you've sold a company. I bet that at some point you had this dream, like once I have this exit and I have this money, like I'm gonna finally feel safe or accomplished or
Yeah,
like good enough or whatever the fuck it is, right? And then you do have the exit and you get the money, you realize it did none of that for you.
yeah,
Am I right?
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it's really there's nowhere to get to. There's no life out there in the future where everything's great and all your are solved and you have the perfect amount of money and the perfect partner and the perfect children and the perfect health and the perfect house and the perfect car and like it doesn't exist. Like this is it. Your life right now is it. There's nowhere else to go.
Mm.
And that fucking landed for me. And I was like, whoa.
Put this in context for me if you don't mind. I know, so
Yeah.
you went to the event, you had these conversations. How long was it for you to reach this? I know it's not a conclusion. That's actually
Right.
not even like a part of the discussion. So,
Yeah.
is this a months long journey, weeks?
No, it's
Over
basically
how?
a 2 year long journey, right?
Wow.
Of piece by piece, but it's been accelerating for the past 2 months dramatically, where I really got I saw it in a much deeper way. Like what I realized is that we have these stories that like I'm like inadequacy, insecurity, scarcity. I'm not enough. I'm inadequate in some way, or I'm not safe, or there isn't going to be enough, or I'm not going to be okay in the future, or I'm looking for some future. We have some version of these patterns, and we have multiple of them. And what they do is they keep us inside of a prison. And then we work really hard at maybe we like cold plunge and journal and gratitude journal and we like go to the gym and we eat right and we work on the business and we network and we marketing and we post to social media and we do all of these things, but it's all within the container of who we believe ourselves to be, which is I'm not enough. I'm not going to be okay. There's not enough in the world. There's something wrong with me. I'm not important. I'm a worthless piece of shit. I'm not like it's within the container of those of the like that limited version of ourselves that we think we are, which is a lie. And so we can work all we want on all of those things and the best that we can ever hope is to become a better version of our limited self.
What a good quote. The best we can hope for is to become a better version of our limited self.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I realized that most of all the coaching and the strategy and the masterminds and even like Tony Robbins and all the personal growth and all of that stuff, pretty all of it is still in within that confine of becoming a better version of our limited self versus who are we really? And that's the ultimate question is who are you? Who are you truly? Because what you realize is I'm not my body. I have a body. I'm not my thoughts. I have thoughts. I can observe my thoughts. I'm not my name. I'm not my business. I'm not my spouse. I'm not my whatever. What am I? I'm awareness. I'm consciousness itself. And that's I. That's who I actually am. I'm unlimited. I'm everywhere all at once. I'm just pure awareness, pure consciousness. I happen to be in a body. I happen to have thoughts and feelings and things that I acquire in this on this planet in this timeline. But at some point, I'm gonna like that. All of that's gonna be gone. This body's not gonna last forever. As they say, like the funeral car, I forget what it's called, has no luggage rack. You can't take your shit with you, right? But that awareness is there through thick and thin. No matter what happens in life, that awareness is there. And I think of it as like with that awareness, I can choose if I want to, I can choose to stare intently at just my mind and like the thoughts in my head and just focus so intently on that and believe that's reality. Or I can open up and I can widen my aperture and I can see the totality of it and realize, no, I am awareness itself and I can choose to be aware of whatever the fuck I want to be aware of. Right? If you're standing in the Grand Canyon and you're just insisting on staring at your phone the whole time, you're like, what is it that people talk about? I don't understand Grand Canyon. People are so obsessed with it. Why is it like, I don't get it. It's just, I just see it. Open your fucking eyes. Look out. Look outside. You know what I'm saying? Like, you are, we think that the thing, we think, first of all, that when we have the thing, that our feelings, we want to feel a certain way, right? We want to feel safe. We want to feel like happy. We want to feel proud of who we are. We want to feel love for ourselves, for other people. We want to feel that we have enough, that we're like we're okay now, we're going to be okay. All of those feelings, we tell ourselves that when I have this, then I will finally feel like I'm good enough, that I've proved myself, that I'm worthy or whatever, like I'll be safe or whatever it is. And it's a lie
Mm.
because all our feelings are what we're saying there is we're saying I'm a victim of circumstance. I can only feel how I want to feel when I have a specific certain circumstance, or my circumstances dictate how I feel and who I see myself as. That's crazy. We can choose to feel however we want to feel right now. I can choose to feel happy, proud of who I am, accomplished, arrived, home, present, love, joy, bliss, whatever I want to feel. I can choose to feel that right now. And if I'm not willing to feel that right now because I'm telling myself a story that says I can only feel that when X happens, then I promise you when X happens, it'll be Y. It'll be
Mm.
Z. It'll be something else because it's not about the thing. It's about you're not willing to give yourself the love or that feeling that you want. And that's the pattern. So it's right now is the moment to feel those feelings. And the crazy thing is, once you do, now you approach life from that feeling. Imagine if you had whatever the stuff that you dream of, like millions of dollars and like beautiful partner and body and health and all the friends in the world and lots of fun and I don't know what the fuck you're yeah, like cars, houses, whatever, all the friends, all the network. How would you feel if you had that? And if maybe you'd feel like elated, you'd feel like so excited to wake up every day and just full of energy and just loving the every moment and seizing the day. And you're like, oh, if you approached every day with that energy, do you think that you're more likely to get there? Probably, right? Embodying the feeling today makes it more likely that you're going to get there, but also you don't give a fuck because you're already fucking happy.
Yeah, it doesn't matter at that point because the point of being there is to have the feeling.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, yeah, the big people think that whatever they want is outside of them. Like I need to get the money and the money is outside somehow and I need to get it. Someone else has it. I need to get it from them or something. I think what or the house or whatever. They believe that whatever they want is outside of them. They believe that they're separated from it in time. It's not now, but I'll have it in the future. And they believe it's up to them to get it. And those are the three lies. Like nothing that you want is outside of you because what you want is the feeling, A, and B, who you are is all there is. Who you are is soul, is spirit, is consciousness, is pure awareness. It's pervasive, it's all over, it's timeless. That is
Mm,
who you are. But if you see yourself as this limited being, then you can work really hard and not get anywhere. And time is also an illusion. Nobody's ever been in the future. Nobody's ever been in the past. You've only ever been in the present moment. You can think about the future, you can think about the past, but they're in your mind. They only exist in your mind. So whatever you're looking for is right here. And then when you feel how you want to feel and you are feeling that right now, then you don't have to do to get there. Yes, you'll take action, but it'll feel effortless. You don't have to effort your way to it. It'll start to show up for you. And yeah, that's been, that's when been what's been landing. And seeing those, seeing those lies, like for me, that whole thing of I gotta get somewhere. I'm not there yet. And the other one, another huge one has been I did it wrong. Like I built my company wrong. The fact that I've been at this for 15 years and where it's not bigger than it is. Like I started at the same time as Kajabi and they're way bigger than my company. So therefore I did it wrong. And you can see if I have a story that I did it wrong, then I'm not going to be a very good coach. Hey,
mm.
I did it wrong, but I'll teach you how to do it right, to just do the opposite of what I did. I don't know. It's not a good pitch, right? It's not a good pitch for me to myself. And if I don't buy it, then nobody else is going to buy it. Right. So did I do it wrong? No, I did the only thing I could do given who I was at the time. Like none of what I did was ever wrong. The person that I was at the time did the only thing, the best thing that I knew how to do at that moment, given my beliefs, given my mind bugs, given how I was at that point in my life. And it wasn't wrong. It's just I did I did, and there were the consequences that there were, and that's it.
It's funny, man. I've been sitting here thinking like this is exactly what I needed to hear right now. I didn't want to interrupt you because I didn't want to derail your where you were going or detract from the message that you were delivering. And I was like, fuck, this is clearly what I needed to hear.
Yeah. But
Just
yeah, let it be a conversation. Let me hear what's
well, this is the thing that frustrates me actually a little bit is because I've been circumnavigating, let's say, this a very similar idea, which is I think it's Buddhist in construct, but not Buddhist alone. It's like I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be.
yeah.
And the thing that's frustrating about that is the people that I know that adhere to that idea solely, I don't feel like they're doing it right either because they actually stop and they're like, "Oh, I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be." And so then they just be. And there
Mhm.
and that's probably a better way of doing it than the way I've been doing it, which is I need to go, but
Mhm.
it does feel like we were given go for a purpose. So it's like I'm where I need to be. And it's the other half of the and that I'm struggling with. As you're saying this, there's actually a part of the message that's really frustrating for me because I feel it and I see it and I see its validity. And then what?
Yeah. And
Like, why not just
I
at
totally
this
get
point then check out and eat a bullet? Like, what's the, I'm actually being
no,
hyperbolic, but I think if you followed that through the logical conclusion, it is a question. It's, well,
I
what?
100% get it. So there's a phrase that I use, which is satisfied and hungry for more. I'm 100% satisfied where I am, and I'm hungry for more. Why not? It's like you go to Disneyland if you like Disneyland, right? You go on a ride and you're like, that was so fucking fun. Let's do another
Do it
ride.
again. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
that's the game. It's not, oh shit, that ride sucked. That's not enough. Like we're not where we need to be. Let's go another ride and see if maybe we get it there. Like I'm looking for something, right? That's not the energy. I'm
Yeah.
not looking for something because I am everything.
So
I
it's not
am.
really changing your actions at all. It's changing the energy that powers your actions.
Yeah. And chances are some actions are going to change. But the point,
Right.
I also don't. I'm not loving, I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. I like that, but I like better to say, like, I am where I am and I can be completely at peace with that. It's more like the story that says I should be something else. Like now you're arguing with reality. Like that's
Yeah.
like every time you're like should, like like this shouldn't be that way. Like the war shouldn't happen in Ukraine, or the president shouldn't do this or talk this way or say that, or the press shouldn't, or blah blah blah. Like whenever you should, you're just making separation between you and reality, and that causes suffering in you, but only every time.
Yeah. But
So
only
it's
every
like
time.
only every time.
That's so
So like
funny.
I am exactly why I am right now, and can I just be with that? I don't have to love it. I don't have to, it doesn't hurt to love it. That's great. But just stop resisting it. Stop that like that. Notice where you're holding that resistance to what is, to right now, and it's in your belly. You'll notice that there's a slight tension in your belly when you're doing that, which most of us are doing all the freaking time. So just take that out breath, relax your belly, and just be here. Be here. There's nowhere to get to. There's nothing to prove. There's nothing that needs changing in this second. And now, what do we want to do from that place? Now we're in touch with the present, we're in touch with the moment. What do we want to do? And again, if you've been running from an energy of, and I did this a lot, I think like last year in December, so a year and change ago, I went to Date with Destiny with Tony Robbins, and it was my first ever Tony Robbins event in person. And it was really powerful for me. I went with my wife, with Nomi, and it really did something beautiful for our relationship. It really transformed our relationship in on a deep level. Like it connected us much deeper. He has a beautiful one of the days is relationship day, and it's just fucking magnificent. It's really beautiful. And I came out of that event like, because Tony is all this, you jump and you dance and you move. And I was always like, how does he make people like jump and dance and scream and all that stuff? And I went, now I know he just tells people to.
Yeah.
He's like, dance, go crazy. And then people go crazy and dance. Like, it's just like, make the loudest sound that you can feel good making. And then people make the loudest sound. It's just, he just asks people to. It's really funny. But and it feels good, right? It's just I don't know, endorphins or dopamine or whatever the fuck the thing, the brain chemicals is. It feels good, and then you're on a high after. And I ran into the new year last year with this year and these goals, and we're gonna crush it. And we're gonna all this money. And we're gonna do all these things, or the body, and like oh, like I'm gonna transform my relationship. I had all these goals, and then a couple months into it, I realized that they were all coming from I'm not enough. I'm not good enough.
Mm.
I'm not there yet. But once I have these things, I'm going to be good enough.
Mm.
And so it was all, ugh. And then I think it was right before my birthday is here in March. And it was right before that that I really kind of got this whole thing. Because the main story for me was I did it wrong.
Mm.
I like from being born still like basically dead. Like I got born, I was born wrong. I even fucked that one up. Until like I like and I built the company wrong and I broke up my first family and got divorced and I did that wrong and the way that I approached that was wrong and this was wrong and this was wrong. Like everything I did was wrong. That was my story. That was my narrative. And and so when that like when I saw that and I was like, oh, none of it was wrong because wrong is a judgment.
Yeah.
And it's no, it's just I did what I did, and there are some consequences to that, and that's it. It wasn't wrong. It was just what I did. And I couldn't have done anything else because I didn't. And that's, so just forget that. And that was like, wow, okay. So from this place, like of that whole list of all those goals, what do I still care about? Honestly, the only thing I really care about is just feeling free inside. I'm
Mm.
sick of being in this fucking prison where I have to get somewhere. I'm not enough. I'm not good enough. And I don't know, I'm comparing myself to others and oh, but they have oh this stuff and I don't about all that stuff. I'm fucking sick of that shit. So I just scratched that entire list. And my only goal is freedom. Just feel fucking free.
So
And
funny, dude. I named my community 3x Freedom. Like
right.
yeah, I'm obsessed with that exact same concept. That resonates really deeply too. I'm 100% with you.
Yeah.
I just
And
want
the
to
trick
feel
is
free.
recognizing freedom is not something that you have. Freedom is who you are.
Mm.
Your essence is not free, but freedom itself.
Mm.
Your essence is not loving, it's love. Your essence is not abundant, it's abundance. That's who you are. It's just that you've believed a lie that says you're none of those things and you have to do something to become it and to feel it and to prove it or something. That's a fucking lie. It's just a lie. Who you are is just pure fucking spirit, pure awareness, pure all there is. Only you can make yourself not free. And so rather than trying to chase freedom from an illusory self that believes itself to be unfree and now it's chasing freedom outside of itself or in circumstances, you can see how that will never work.
Yeah, just be
Right.
free.
Just recognize that you got to remove the what I call mind bugs. You got to remove those things that are lodged in your mind that say you're not free. And all of those things are just made of words. They're literally made of words that you heard, that you picked up on, maybe even before you had language, but the words have energy. Words have vibration to them. And so even when you're in the womb and you don't understand language, you still absorb it. Even when you're 3 months old and you don't understand language, you still absorb the energy of it and it gets lodged as words, as a form of like energy that's connected to whatever those words are. And then once that's why I said the thing when I found like I'm a worthless piece of shit, then I'm like, oh shit, you get the words exactly right. You hear them from inside, or someone else mirrors them back to you in some way. And then you're like, oh fuck, it's like the key that unlocks to the door to that place of you, part of you that was buried down there. And then oh, okay, now it can break free.
Mm.
And that was a mind bug that now is like on his way out. Yeah. Because it's all
Your whole
fucking
mind bug
vibrating
thing
energy.
is really interesting too. I love that nomenclature. Like that lands perfectly because it feels like a virus. It feels like it's not of us. Like it
Yeah.
does, it needs to be. It's like a bug.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah. Have you written about this?
Not really. No. No.
That might be worth doing, man. I'm not trying to
Okay.
give you homework. That feels
Yeah.
heavy, and it just that feels like a message that would resonate. Because I've heard some of I mentioned earlier, like some of the narrative that kind of dances with this, but not quite this. This feels really
Mhm.
unique.
Yeah.
It's very Calvin.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's yeah, uniquely you. I really love it though. What a fun
I
journey you're on.
Thank you, man. Yeah, it's like the being a software engineer, right? And it's like software engineer and like that, like spiritual coach or whatever you want to call it at the same time. And I love that juxtaposition. And I'll go from doing the coaching to like we're literally writing and working on code with a team
Yeah,
within 10 minutes. And I enjoy that. And that as a programmer, one of the things that we are just naturally trained to do is to pay very close attention to language and semantics and very specific nuance in language, because that's what we do all day long. A
mm,
misplaced comma or just a bad naming of something has real consequences, and it's that those things really matter. And so it's the same when I'm doing the coaching. I'm like, I'm noticing patterns in language that point to a mind bug.
yeah,
And once you have it's this thing, the saying like you can't read the bottle from inside the label, but once you have someone else that helps you see that and point it out, and you can be like, oh crap, you're
oh
right.
yeah,
I can do
right.
that. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really good. I've never heard that you can't read the bottle from inside the label, or you can't read the
Sorry,
label
you
from
can't
inside the
read the
bottle.
label from inside the bottle. I
Yeah,
probably got it
no,
wrong.
but
Yeah.
that I really like that too.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just so helpful to have an outside perspective.
Yeah. And the thing to understand about the way the ego mind works that has these mind bugs is if you say you feel like I did, like I don't matter, you will inevitably put yourself in situations where it's proven true. So it's like,
You need to prove yourself. I felt like that in my,
exactly.
yeah. Otherwise, you're insane, and you'd
Well,
rather be right than insane.
you're right. Yeah, it's the unconscious thing. So we had this, my wife came to me like a while back and she was like, you know what? I've decided like I don't have kids. And then like me today would have just been like, interesting, huh? Do you think maybe I get a say in this? Like,
Yeah,
you should have a conversation about. But back then, my And this is the thing, it's not a belief, it's who I am. It's who I believe myself to be at a core level is I don't matter. I'm not important. So then when she says that, what do? I get hurt. Oh, okay.
Mm,
Because I'm not important. I don't matter. But it's not something I think about. It's just like how I react because that's my worldview. And because I hear it that way, now what is it? It's proof that I clearly don't matter to her
mm.
since she would say that. Right. And so we keep doing things that will prove it to be true. And so it just keeps reinforcing until we stop it. Like,
So stopping it, this is the hard part because as we're having this conversation, I feel like intellectually accessible to the concept that you're offering. And we're gonna hang up and then I'm gonna go do go to
mm,
the place or I go to my brother's house tonight for dinner. And it's the pattern interrupts for those mind bugs.
yeah.
Uh,
So actually, no. And this is again language, right? So when you say, what do you say? Catching them is the hard part. What do you say? It was like, you
yeah,
said something was like the hard part. Yeah. So whenever you speak, everything that you speak is a commandment. So if you say it's hard, it's going to be hard. And I understand where you're coming from, but that's one of the patterns to notice. Like what think about everything that you speak is a declaration, is an act of creation. Like first there was the word, all that like that. It really fucking works that way. So be careful of that. And it's actually very simple because yes, it helps. That's what we do in my academy coaching program. Like then like you bring stuff that's a business challenge, and then we're like, great. First, I hear a mind bug. Let's get awareness on that. And then we talk strategy. So that's what I do in the coaching. We do mind debugging and strategy together. Because most all the coaching programs I've ever been in is like the strategy, but it's not necessarily the right strategy for you that you need at the moment. A,
yeah,
but also B, if you're stuck in a fucking prison, which we all are of our own mind, then like you can have all the strategies in the world and it's not going to do shit. So that's why I love doing both because without you could also just do mind bug, but I love strategy. But we got to get free first so that
yeah.
we can pick the right strategy and execute on it because otherwise it's meaningless. But to it's actually simple and easy because you just have to get awareness on it. And that's again what we do in the coaching, but also something that like you can learn to start to spot these things for yourself over time. But really all you need to do is see it. So the mind that I'm sure you've heard of neuroplasticity, right? And so there's these like highways in your brain of like pathways that you've gone down a million times, and this would be one of them. So whatever it is for you, like I need to get somewhere or something. And once you notice, oh, I do that pathway will never quite be the same again. Start to
Uh,
notice more that, oh, I
yeah,
did that thing again, and you'll stop yourself from doing it. And the more you do that, the more that just goes from like a 6 lane highway into a dirt road.
yeah. A
So
problem
it
well
becomes
defined is half
practice.
solved.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you start to just make different choices. There's like affirmations where it's, if you have like I don't matter, then you're like I do matter. I fucking do matter. You can do that, or like incantations, which is Tony Robbins, which I matter. And you like use your body and all the things. I like to just be like, no, that's a lie, and
Mm.
just like you don't need to argue against it. You just stop going down that path, and then you go back to center to I am. That's all I need to know. I'm awareness itself.
I'm writing this down as you're saying it because I really liked when you said that earlier. It took my breath away.
Yeah.
I am awareness itself.
Yeah.
Dude, I've got a call in 60
I know.
seconds,
I
but I
know.
don't want, it's hard to have a call like this and then be like, oh God, I have to hop because this was really profound. I really appreciate you sharing this with me.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Yeah, if you do something, if you do a podcast or something on it, I want to hear more because this was really
Yeah,
interesting.
I have a podcast. It's called Squash Your Mind Box with Calvin Correli.
Yeah.
I love it. And if you want to, we can do another where we actually go into looking at what's going on with you, if you're up for it.
Oh, dude, I'd love to do that. Yeah,
Yeah,
there's a
let's
whole
do it.
cesspool of garbage and bullshit that probably needs to be mind bugged.
Yeah.
Let's go mine the mind bugs.
It's all of us, right? It's fucking all of us. All this
Yeah.
shit. All this shit. And it's so innocent and it's just fucking human. We're just humans, right? And we get embarrassed about it and we're like, oh shit, I did.
There's something really beautiful about the condition when you really let yourself sit back, especially when it's hard to see in yourself, or at least it is for me, but then I see other people and like you see the beauty in other people and who they are and what they're capable of. And it's a little overwhelming.
Yeah. And for me, the mind bugs and the wounding and the hurt and like all the idiosyncrasies, like that's what makes us human. That's what makes us interesting and
Yeah.
care about each other. We don't want fucking perfect. Nobody gives a
Yeah.
shit. We want real
Yeah.
human. Yeah. Love you, brother. I really do.
Love you, buddy. I appreciate the time today.
Yeah. You too.
Yeah. Thanks,
All right.
Calvin. I'll talk to you later.
I'll see you soon.